For the chicken piece of this card, we're going to use watercolor paper. It just works better with all the coloring that we're doing on it. So start out by cutting your circle for your chicken, and then go ahead. I used Memento Tuxedo Black, and I stamped the chicken onto the circle once I had it cut. And then when you're doing that, you can also stamp out just the chicken head on a piece of, this is Elegant Eggplant, but whatever crazy color you want your hair, whether it's mambo, melon mambo or something. And then you're going to fussy cut or hand cut all this out, and we're going to attach that when we're done with the rest of the coloring. So for coloring the chicken in, I've used an aqua painter. I'm not sure if you're all familiar with those, but they have they hold water in the tube. They're like a paintbrush that holds the water for you in a tube. They're really nice for watercoloring. So then I have just taken the Cajun Craze, and if you squeeze it, you'll get ink on the lid. You can also use one of the Ray inkers and put a dot on a block or something, and then you're just going to scoop up the color from here and go ahead and transfer it onto your chicken. And you don't have to worry about coloring his hair on top, because that's going to be covered up. And then I've gone back after I do this, I'll go back and do his legs and his beak in a yellow. And you can choose whatever colors you want your crazy chicken to be. If it's someone who likes pink and purple, make him pink and purple. So that you can see it doesn't take too long to color that in. And then you might want to keep a paper towel handy to clean your brush. And then I'm using the Delightful Dijon for his feet and his beak. And that's just a quick run down his legs. Okay. And then I want his tail to match his head, and you could also cut his tail out if you wanted both. I've just decided to only do the head for this card, but you could certainly do both if you wanted. So I've taken the matching color to his crazy head hair, and these are real chickens. I don't know if you've ever seen them. My kids used to raise chickens for 4-H, and the ones we had, I believe, they were either white with black hair on the top, or they were black with white hair. It's been so long I don't remember. But you can see that goes pretty quickly for the coloring. So I'll show you, you're going to take your hexagon hive textured impressions embossing folder. Oh, I have a hard time saying that. And you're just going to take, I've used Early Espresso. It also looked good with like Sahara sand, or depending upon how dark you wanted this to look. But then I'm just going to go ahead and ink up the side that's raised. Oh, and I forgot to tell you too, you're going to need to stamp a second chicken on a sticky note, and stamp him so his head is right up by the sticky, and then cut him out. It doesn't have to be real precise when you cut it out, but you're going to layer this over top of your chicken so that it covers up the chicken, so we don't get ink on that while we're doing this portion of the process. So then we're just going to lay him onto there and shut the folder and rub. You know, and the harder you rub, the more chicken wire you're going to get on here. So there you see we've got our chicken wire. I think this guy's escaped, though. He's on the front side of the chicken wire. Then we're going to take Marina Mist. And you can either, you can choose to stop there or go on with this process. And I've just taken a D block. I can never remember. And go ahead and ink up your block. and then take one of the misters, fill it with water, and I'm going to do this off camera because I don't want water all over here, but you're going to spritz this, and I do it at arm's length. It usually takes me about 3 spritzes before I actually hit the block, and then you're just going to set this over here, press down. It's watercolor paper, so it will take in that extra water. Sometimes if you get too much, you might want to take your paper towel and dab it off. And then I'm using this block because it fits nicely on the ink pad, but it could be just a hair bigger. So then when we're done with that, we'll take our mask off, and we have our chicken. So I have some pre-cut. I was making these for swap, so I'm doing 50 of these, which was kind of crazy because it's a little bit complicated card with lots of pieces to make 50. But so then we're just going to put a little snail on it. If you wanted to make it really crazy, you could pop it up with a dimensional to give his hair just a little bit more craziness. And then we're going to cut a piece of basic black. I'm going to take the little bit bigger one, the scallops for this, and we will go ahead and layer that onto there. The next layer that I'm going to be working on for this card is the background that goes behind the chicken layer. So for this, I wanted it to look sort of like a designer series paper, and I actually used this piece as my guide, which is from the Cupcakes and Carousels stack. But I didn't have enough of that paper to make the amount that I needed for this swap that I'm doing, so I decided I would just pull together some stamps that I had that reminded me of this. So I've got this piece from the Everyday Hero that I'm going to do for the sunburst. And okay, so we're going to start with the So Saffron and this kind of starburst thing, and you're going to put your chicken in the middle, so you're just going to kind of eyeball it and do these kind of all around here. You could be really, like this one, I was being a little bit more cautious and I had almost an exact circle in the middle. This one I'm not being quite so careful. And then for all the little, I just pulled a bunch of different things from different stamp sets I have. I had the Perpetual Birthday Calendar, had some little background things. The swirly bird, I liked the swirls, and it had chicken feet and some little flowers. So I'm just kind of taking bits and pieces from other stamp sets that I have, and you can use basically anything you have, that little flowers or swirlies. And I'm using the Sahara Sand because I just kind of want it to be a quiet background. Well, maybe kind of a loud background, but soft. So I just put those on, kind of leaving the middle empty because, of course, it's going to get covered up. Now, if you wanted them a little bit lighter, you could stamp off first. I think I might have on my original one that I made. And then I wanted to use the Hey Chick. So I'm going to stamp that, and this I am going to stamp off. And then, oops, forgot to stamp off. And then randomly stamp that, and of course you don't need to put anything in the middle because that's going to get covered up. You can do them upside down if you want, sideways. Get wild. And then I also had this this little, it kind of reminded me of a fence like you might see in a rabbit coop or chicken coop or rabbit pen or something, and that was from the Timeless Textures. And I'm going to do those on here, and definitely want to stamp off for those because I just want it really, really light. And I'm going to kind of You know, you might want to have an extra piece of paper where you can stamp off. Or if you have an ink pad that isn't real juicy, that would work good too. So I'm just going to maybe even double stamp a few times. I want it to have that, I don't know if you call it a shabby chic look or chic or however you say that. So that's pretty much sums up how we're going to do that. And then for the next layer down, this is just your typical matting size. It's I believe it's a 5 1/4 by 4. Let me double check here to make sure, but yeah, it's 4 by, yep, 5 1/4. And then this is an early espresso piece, and I have run it through the Woodgrain TIEF, so just to give it a little bit more texture. And then my card base, this is my sample and it happens to be just a card front, but it's just a standard card base done on with Marina Mist. So then we're just going to layer all of our pieces together. And then I've taken the a piece of Sahara sand. Now I have to find my little, oh, here it is. This is my little sign. I'll turn this around so you can see it. I wanted to do the hay chick again here, and I wanted to get some more texture in here. So I've just taken a piece of the thick baker's twine in Very Vanilla and cut a little piece out, and I've just used a, well, here I may as well backtrack here a little bit. You're going to take this one was actually done in a elegant eggplant, but I think I'm going to actually use the early espresso for the rest of them. And I'm going to take my hay chick and clean it off a little bit. Just take a scrap piece here of the Sahara sand, and this is my hay chick. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp that. And then next I'm going to take my Banner Duet punch, and I'm just going to go ahead and punch that. Now I want to have just this little bit here. I'm going to cut the tails off because I don't have enough room for the whole banner looking thing. Then I'm going to take a hole punch for my baker's twine to go through. I'll go ahead and... So then we've got this cutout banner with the holes in it, and we're going to just thread through. Our little bit of twine here. And then I don't want a lot sticking through, so I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. You can, and then once you have it the length that you want it, go ahead and work the ends and get them shredded a little bit, unraveled, whatever you want to call it. So just want those unraveled. And you can play with them a little bit to get them how you want them. And then I'm going to pop this up. Oops. Just put that like that. So we're going to have this on here with the dimensional. And I haven't quite decided yet. Well, it looks like I maybe have this one a little bit long. We'll have to trim it. So if you get it too long, you can just, after you have it all the way you want it, just go ahead and trim your ends. Hope you enjoyed it, and hope you had a great day and had some time to stamp. See you again next time.